Wait, what is this over here? Totally not the location of the totally secret Brotherhood of Steel super secret bunker. I forgot I had that mod installed. I have a mod installed that makes the entrance a little more obvious because I always get lost trying to find it. This is it. Totally not the location of the totally secret Brotherhood of Steel super secret bunker. We promise. Yeah, that makes it a little easier to find, I guess.
Fallout New Vegas is widely regarded as the best Fallout game in a wide range of regards. Dialogue, leveling up, combat, you name it. One very core aspect of how New Vegas is set apart from its brethren is the difficulty. This game actually poses a threat to you. That being said, just how bad would a rolling pin playthrough in this game be? Let's find out. Welcome back to Challenge Chronicles. Today's episode, Fallout New Vegas with only a rolling pin. After being relinquished from the G-Man's clutches thanks to Spark's handiwork, thank you Spark, the hero of our story, Fettuccine, awakens in a strange, unfamiliar place. After looking in the mirror and seeing the father of all handsome boys, I headed over to the Vigor Tester to set my special stats. For this run, I'm going to go with a pretty simple build, strength at 10, endurance at 10, and the rest of the points being distributed evenly because I thought they were useless. Keyword, thought. After being shown an ink blot and saying they all look like penises, I dubbed Doc Mitchell completely useless and chose my perks for myself. For my main skills, I went for melee weapons, obviously, unarmed, and lockpick. I don't know why I went lockpick, don't ask. Actually, now that I'm looking back at this footage, I'm really wishing I went with speech on that third skill. Oh well. I then went heavy-handed and hoarder. Why? Oh god, why?
Let me leave, Murph. No!
Sorry, I'm writing the script right after I just beat the game and I just want to cry watching this footage. I don't want to spoil anything, but I just want to say that the end game would have been a hell of a lot easier if I just chose speech as one of those skills and then skilled for my starter perk. Anyway, finally free from the clutches of the casting couch, I ravaged Dr. Mitchell's house for literally anything on his shelves in order to sell for caps later on. I finally met Mitchell at the door, bid him farewell as he gave me back my Pip-Boy and my Vault suit, and headed out into the wasteland. I was flashbanged with about 4 billion pop-ups trying to get me to depart with my cash, and then I laid eyes on Goodsprings. Now that I was free to roam the wasteland, I had one objective on my mind. My damn rolling pin. After some googling, I've made an amazing discovery. You see, as logic allows it, parallel existences of our universe coincide with ours. Every decision we make up sends us careening towards another reality, which is vastly different. However, there is one constant in this vague nonsense, one anchor point that will always be there, no matter what, and that is that there will always be a rolling pin on top of the fridge in Cliff Briscoe's bungalow in Novak. So that's where I'm headed next. On the way to Novak, I ran away from some powder gangers, found a super duper secret bunker that totally doesn't exist.
Totally not the location of the totally secret Brotherhood of Steel super secret bunker. I forgot I had that mod installed.
And was attacked by some Nightkin at Black Mountain. I managed to get away from them, however, and then, as I was passing Helios 1, I saw the shining beacon in the distance that was the giant dinosaur of Novak. I did a brief visit to the dino gift shop to find Cliff's bulk storage of small nuclear warheads, and then I broke into his house, as you do. There it is. Oh my god, it's gorgeous. So here's some stats to put things into perspective. The rolling pin in Fallout 4 with no perks, no mods, no bullshit does a base damage of 11. The rolling pin in New Vegas does a base damage of 3. 3. With the Fallout 4 base game completed, max Big Leagues perk, max Rooted perk, max Strength, and as well as a bladed legendary rolling pin, the rolling pin did something like 60 or 70 damage. Actually pretty good. In New Vegas, however, after my entire playthrough was finished, with max melee weapon skill, max strength, and all the melee weapon perks I could muster, the rolling pin did 7 damage. 7. This isn't like Fallout 4 where pretty much anything can be made into a pretty reliable weapon due to modding and perks. In Fallout New Vegas, the rolling pin is actual garbage. Totally and legitimately completely terrible, abysmal trash. It can barely waft away a fly. It also is in terrible condition. So that's great. Now that we've gotten acquainted with our savior for this run, I fast traveled back to Goodsprings in order to continue the game. I decided it would be wise of me to actually follow along with the Goodsprings questline for some free XP instead of just gutting it to the strip. So I quickly used the 3 weapon repair kits that I got from having the DLC and went and talked to Sunny Smiles. She took me out the back to shoot some sarsaparilla bottles, which I tried to knock over with my rolling pin. She didn't seem too impressed initially, so I got out her varmint rifle and shot the knocked over bottles. I then did the rest of the tutorial with Sunny, where I discovered that the rolling pin isn't too bad against super low level enemies. But you guys will see how bad it can get, trust me. I bid Sunny farewell and then went back to the Prospector Saloon to witness Trudy and Joe Cobb once again squabbling about which My Little Pony show is better, Friendship is Magic or the original. It's a very touchy subject, as you can see. By the way guys, I'm not going to summarize every story beat that happens in this game, only the major ones. It would simply take too long. If you want the full story of the quest that I do, watch a lore video or better yet, play the damn game. Moving on, I talked to Trudy, talked to Ringo, talked to Sunny again to get her on board with the Powder Gangers massacre, and then had to talk to some of the townsfolk. I tried to talk to Trudy into helping, tried to talk to Pete into helping, and then I didn't even bother with convincing Chet to help because he wouldn't piss on you if you're on fire unless you forked over 400 caps. Bastard. Anyway, I told Ringo that me, him, and Sunny will have to do. So, the Powder Gangers came into town, and I managed to do a fair bit of damage to them. It wasn't that hard of a fight, but I used more healing supplies than what I was comfortable with. This is mainly because I'm using a melee weapon, meaning I'm up in people's faces a lot more, which means I'm getting shot and crippled a lot more. This will continue to be a pertinent issue going forward. I looted everyone's corpses, especially Joe Cobb, and then sold all of their remains to Chet for some extra caps. See? Now that I mentioned caps, Chet is interested. Sick bastard. My next objective was Primm, in order to find out more about this man that allegedly shot me in the head and then robbed me just before I went nap time. Nothing really of note happened on my journey to Primm, apart from running away from some powder gangers. Reaching Primm, I was greeted by the farthest reaching conversationist of all time, and then I did a hop, skip, and a jump over all the mines. Like a proper Spider-Man. I went and talked to Johnson Nash about the delivery details, and he said that Deputy Beagle would know more about the man who shot me. Problem is, he's a little bit tied up right now. That was funny. Moving into the building across the street, I didn't have too much trouble with the convicts inside, except their leader. He had a lot of health and a lot of armor and a flamethrower to boot. I eventually killed him, but I had to stand there wailing on him for like 2 minutes. A warning sign of what was to come. Also, something else annoying. Whenever I'm in someone's face and I'm taking a lot of lead to the intestines, my character continuously gets crippled and locked in these animations, which will put me in a stun lock for several seconds. So incredibly frustrating. Just standing there and watching as you get pumped full of bullets without being able to do anything is so thoroughly demoralizing. Moving on, I saved Deputy Beagle and then escorted him outside. He told me that the man I'm looking for is headed through Nipton to Novak in order to meet a contact there. So I headed to Nipton. That was a joke. So I'm sure what you're wondering why the hell that bar down the bottom there is so low. Well, suffice it to say that the rolling pin, as well as being one of the weakest weapons in the game damage-wise, its durability rating is also among the lowest in the entire game as well. It's not as bad as, say, a pool cue, but when every enemy in the game takes no less than 200 swipes with a rolling pin, the durability can run out real fast. So now my objective is to somehow obtain more weapon repair kits and or find someone to repair this rolling pin. At first, I tried to craft some weapon repair kits, but crafting requires a repair skill of 50. Why didn't I just choose repair as a skill? Oh well. I went on a small bit of a search through the Mojave for some weapon repair kits that may be lying around, but most of the vendors that I visited did not sell them, and I could not find any weapon repair kits in the open world. For some reason, weapon repair kits are exceedingly rare and don't really spawn in the open world. You're supposed to craft them. Eventually, after about an hour or so of searching, I found on the wiki that there is a guaranteed weapon repair kit spawn location in Nipton, and since the quest marker was already leading me there, I thought I might as well pay old Vulpus Furry McGee over there a visit. I witnessed the beautiful art pieces being made in Nipton, found the loser who came second, and found one weapon repair kit on the floor. It's not much, but it's something. I then stopped streaming for the day and left the challenge to pick up another time. The next time I streamed, I set my eyes on Novak. Again. But this time, for real. I talked to Manny Vargas about the man who shot me and robbed me, and he said he'd tell me, but only if I helped him clear out Repconn of all the ghouls there. I knew I wouldn't be able to take on the ghouls and Nightkin of Repconn, not with this durability. So for the time being, I set my eyes on Freeside. Why? Because Mick and Ralph's is at Freeside, and they can repair my weapons for me for a small fee. Why didn't I just go there to begin with? Simple. I forgot. Hey man, don't look at me like that. I'm like an Olympic gold medalist at wasting time. It's my speciality. On the way to Freeside, I ran away from some Viper gunners. I bought some delicious purified water at the 188 Slop and Sloppy, bought some healing supplies and sold some junk to the wandering trader, and fought some Freeside thugs. Actually got to Mick and Ralph's and only paid a cool fee of 13 caps to repair my rolling pin back to full condition. Now that I can use my rolling pin again, it's time to go back to Novak in order to progress the main story. I need the XP, and I also need more junk to sell, as I need 2,000 caps to be granted entry into the strip. I waltzed over to Repconn and turned the ghouls outside into a glowing paste before being greeted by the smoothest, most gracious voice I'll ever hear. I dealt with the rest of the ghouls and went upstairs to be greeted by the most disgusting, foul, and revolting looking ghoul anyone's ever laid their eyes on. After talking to yet another handsome soul, Jason, he told me to go downstairs and take care of the Nightkin in the basement. So I went downstairs and started whacking. Nightkin downstairs weren't the hardest enemies to deal with, as I did have an abundance of stimpaks on me, but they did deal quite the amount of damage to me and my rolling pin. I took on Davison, which took no less than 4 billion years to kill, and reduced my rolling pin to that of a pile of splinters, so I took a break from Repconn and went and repaired my rolling pin at Mick and Ralph's, as well as stocking up on stimpaks. I then took an intermission to go make myself a sandwich, and then killed the remaining Nightkin in the basement. I also killed Harlan because, well, I don't know why, to be honest, just because I wanted to. I went and told Jason and his gang that the basement is now clear, and then Chris asked me to get some spare rocket parts. I went and retrieved the spare rocket parts from the Gibson scrapyard by bashing old lady Gibson's skull in, and then returned them to Chris and Jason. I then witnessed them taking off into the great beyond, and then informed Manny that the ghouls from Repconn are dealt with. He told me that a few of the people that the man who shot me were running with were now holed up in Boulder City, so Boulder City is my next objective. Upon arriving in Boulder City, an NCR lieutenant informed me that some Great Khans were holding some NCR hostages and need to be dealt with or negotiated with. With my casual 3 in charisma, I approached the Great Khans, who told me that the Benny I'm looking for is now in another castle and is probably back at the Vegas Strip. I rewarded their honesty by caving their skulls in, and then I was off to the strip. Now, there is one problem with Benny being on the strip. You need to have a minimum of 2,000 caps in your inventory. So, the next hour or so was dedicated to me selling random junk for caps. After a while of forking over the various limbs and rusty scrap in my inventory, I managed to scramble together 2,000 caps and I entered the strip. I went into the Lucky 38 to meet Dr. House, and he told me that Benny is in the Tops Casino, but taking him head on will be tricky. He suggested that I should provide some proof that Benny tried to kill me to a man called Swank, so that I'll be able to take Benny by himself. I went back to Goodsprings and found some cigarette butts that were unmistakably Benny's, and then I went back to the Tops and showed them to Swamp, or whatever his name was, and he let me keep my weapons, my rolling pin, and that security wouldn't get involved if there was a tussle. And a tussle there was. I went up to Benny and started absolutely wailing on him and his bodyguards. I'd packed enough stimpaks to get me through the Battle of Thermopylae, so these bodyguards weren't going to kill me. My health got low a couple of times, but nothing that I couldn't handle. After about 2 minutes of absolutely laying into them, Benny and his bodyguards were dealt with, and the platinum chip was now in my possession. Now, at this point in the game, one would start to wonder what ending I would start to pine for. And I thought that the most meaningful approach to the endgame would be to side with Mr. House, as he is the path of least resistance. So I went up to the Lucky 38 and gave the platinum chip to Mr. House. I went down to his torture dungeon so he could show me his collection of Power Ranger memorabilia, and he told me to go to Cottonwood Cove in order to activate a hidden robot bunker or something. So I travelled to Cottonwood Cove took a short boat ride to the Legion camp, and I talked to Caesar Salad about quote-unquote destroying the bunker. I then went inside, ran past all the robots, and then turned on the generator. I mean, if you guys thought I was going to fight all of those robots with a rolling pin, you guys are sorely mistaken. Anyway, I activated the generators, and then Mr. House congratulated me on a job done passably. After that, I met Mr. House back at the Lucky 38, and he told me to go talk to the boomers at Nellis Air Force Base. I travelled over there, and an old man told me that it would be suicide to try and get to the base, and bet me 300 caps that I would die trying. Joke's on him, I was running Sprint Burst. I then talked to Pearl and was presented with the realization that I now have to do my least favourite part of the game. You see, I have to get the boomers on the side of Mr. House, or just kill them, and I usually just kill them. But taking on the whole Nellis Air Force Base with just a rolling pin is nothing short of insanity. So I'm forced to do the missions for the boomers until they like me enough to side with Mr. House. Great. Amazing. I'm going to glaze over most of the details in this section because I shudder to think what would happen if a humble viewer such as yourself got even a fraction as bored as I did while doing these stupid fucking quests. I went to Jack to give him all my scrap metal, even though I really didn't want to. I was planning on eating that for lunch. I then snuck through Helios 1 to get some of the old solar array parts so I could fix the Nellis solar array. Then I went down to the Nellis generator and killed all the ants down there. After that, Pearl and Loyal told me to do something big. There is a plane at the bottom of the lake near their base, and they want me to attach some ballast to it so it can float to the surface. I travelled there, attached the ballasts, saw it float to the surface, and then Pearl finally told me that she would side with Mr. House. Finally. Returning to our house. In the middle of our house. He told me that I now have to go and see what the peeps at Gamora were up to and put a stop to them. I entered the Gamora and found out that Kachino had been working against the family by pickpocketing his journal out of his pocket when he wasn't looking. I showed his boss made Kachino go night-night, and for some reason I helped the Gamora crime family achieve their goals? Yeah, so I just kind of zoned out and completely forgot why I was even at Gamora or why I was in there. So I helped this guy get some chlorine by stealing it from the Ultralux, and then I got this guy his weapon shipment back by killing some fiends. I then went back to Mr. House and told him that not only were they actually doing something against him, but I expertly and carefully helped them perfect their plan. By accident. He got super pissed at me, which to be honest, fair enough, but he said that it was just good to know what they were doing anyway. Now it was time to destroy the Brotherhood of Steel. I wonder where their bunker is. I foolishly went into the bunker by myself, so I had to go kill some NCR dude to gain their trust. I then returned their trust in me by plotting to reduce everything they hold dear to rubble. I pickpocketed the Cole's loyalty cards off the head paladin and the head scribe, just by finding them when they were alone. It was pretty easy. And then I had to use a stealth boy for the elder. After I activated the self-destruct sequence, I had a smidgen of trouble trying to get to the exits because the paladin's laser guns zeroed in on me faster than me when there's chocolate cake around. I eventually got out. Oh god. Oh, Jesus. I eventually got out and then watched as the bunker filled with rubble and the Brotherhood was no more. The end is in sight, ladies and gentlemen. I went back to the Lucky 38 and House and Wilson told me that it is now time to activate the generator that was guarded by NCR gearheads. I travelled there and attempted to take on them several times. The NCR hate me at this point, so sneaking up on them was extremely difficult. Also, my armour broke a while ago from one too many trips to Burger King, and I haven't been able to scrape together enough caps to fix it. So trying to kill these NCR folks was no easy task. I eventually had to single one out away from the group and take their armor, and then I was able to quickly walk in there, activate the generator, and then hightail it out of there. I received a level up afterwards, with which I was able to get the Here and Now perk, which gave me another level to pump into speech. I've been trying to pump as many points into speech as possible because I saw the writing on the wall. There is no way that I would be able to take on the Legion Legate at the end of the game with just my rolling pin. I had a sneaking suspicion that passing the speech check with him was my only hope. I mean, I was right, but I realized this far too late in the playthrough, and you'll see how that affects me. Now, it was time for the Battle of Hoover Dam. I'm gonna go to Kmart and cut you guys some slacks and tell you this straight up. This was not my first time I attempted the Battle of Hoover Dam. The legate at the end of the game scared me a lot, and with my waning speech skill, I was running out of options to deal with him. Nevertheless, I tried to progress through Hoover Dam and tried running past all the Legion goons. Then I got down into the basement where the power was, and the 2 power armored weirdos outside the control room were mean to me and said hurtful things. Luckily, a Securitron followed me down there and helped me make them go bye-bye. I restored the power, dealt with some Legion goons, ran past the rest of them, and then I was in the Legate's camp. At first, I tried using the power armor I got from the NCR losers and running past the Legion goons to get to the Legate, but that went about as well as you'd expect. Then I tried the exact same thing. Again. They say Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but this ominous they also thinks Drake makes good music, so why would I listen to them? Alright, calm down, Drake fans, I'm just kidding. No one thinks Drake makes good music, it's impossible to think. Then I tried to actually fight the Legion goons, which didn't go very well, as they tanked rolling pin swipes from me like a brick wall being stabbed by a drunk tortoise with a toothpick. I then decided, screw this, and put the game down from normal onto very easy as a last resort. However, this still didn't help matters. The Praetorian guards and the Legate were still impossible to kill. I was running out of options at this point, and in a last-ditch attempt, I had a light bulb moment. I tried leading all of the Praetorian guards to the gate where the Securitrons are, and thinking that I may be able to take the Legate on if he was alone, I led them through the door and had the Securitrons kill them. And my thinking was correct, to be fair. I would be able to take on the Legate by himself, but I failed to realize that he could just summon more once I started fighting him. I was out of options here, and for some reason the rolling pin does absolutely nothing against the Legate. I knew I had to switch up my strategy, and I knew that my only hope now was to try and pass the speech check to get the Legate by himself. But before that, I gave up for the time being and stopped streaming. The final few hours of the playthrough were pretty boring, so I just recorded it in my own time instead of streaming it. I reloaded a previous save before the Battle of Hoover Dam, and decided to do some quests. I went to Novak and did the quest that Boone gave me. Then I stole a bunch of supplies from Novak to make more weapon repair kits. Don't worry, they idolized me, so they won't care. Then I needed a buttload of caps to spend on a buttload of stim packs. So I went to the Gomorrah Casino, put 100 caps in to gamble at the roulette table, and I managed to keep a really decent winning streak going by putting everything on red. After about 30 or so minutes, I emerged from the casino with about 2,500 caps. Not bad. I then went and bought all the stim packs that I could possibly muster by buying their entire stock and waiting 24 hours for them to restock. Then I went to the strip and saved scum to the magazine dispensers until I got Meeting People magazines and the melee one that I can't pronounce. Then I made a quick visit to the Divide in order to gain some XP. I did the first quest or so of the Lonesome Road DLC and got a handsome amount of XP because there are a bunch of really high level enemies in there. I also managed to snag some really high level gear to sell in order to get even more stim backs. I then went to the bar at the Gomorrah to buy as much Psycho and as much Turbo as I could possibly muster. Then, after all those quests, I had around 50 stim packs, so I attempted Hoover Dam one final time. This time, I finally was able to get a really clutch level up at the Legate's camp, snagged the Stonewall perk, and pumped every point into speech. I then took every drug and drank every alcohol in my inventory in order to raise my charisma, and with all of that, I was just barely able to scramble enough speech skill to convince the Legate to 1v1 me. And then the final duel commenced. This took forever. And when I say that, you probably think it took something like 2 or 3 minutes to kill him. No. The rolling pin only does something like 7 damage, remember? So it took me a grand total of 13 minutes to kill this guy. 13 minutes of non-stop swinging. My rolling pin almost broke several times. I just had to knock him down, use Turbo and Psycho, and lay into him while he was knocked down, and then repeat over and over and over. It was torture.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
But after all of that, after all the drugs in my inventory were gone, my rolling pin looked like more of a piece of paper bark, I finally laid the killing blow on the Legate. I stole his stuff and the Legion goons fled the scene casually, and then I talked to General Lee Oliver, who thanked me for dealing with the Legion. I then graciously informed him that Mr. House is now in charge of New Vegas, not him. I then had Mr. House's Securitrons turn his body into a pile of ash. Mr. House praised my outstanding work, took control of the dam, and that's it. That's a wrap. I just completed Fallout New Vegas with only a rolling pin. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video. If you liked it, go ahead and leave a like. If you disliked it, however, go ahead and leave a dislike, and feel free to go down into the comments and tell me all the other ways I'm a total fuckhead. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. It's totally free, I make this kind of content all the time, and you can always unsubscribe later. I had a lot of fun streaming this on my Twitch, so if you want to get in on that, the link is, as always, in the description down below. Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you guys so much for watching Challenge Chronicles, and I'm out of here.